This is the Keeping Your Money Show with Jamie Westenbarger and Bart Steindler.
All right, welcome back to the Keeping Your Money Show. I'm Jamie Westenbarger, joined as always by Bart Steindler. I want to remind you, if you miss any part of the show, you can always find it on our website. Just go to keepingyourmoney.com. You can also find us on iTunes. Just go to iTunes and search the Keeping Your Money Show. Or if you're a SoundCloud user, you can search Keeping Your Money on there and find our show as well. So we give you all kinds of ways to find it. All over the place on the internet. You can also give us a call, 888-98-MONEY is the number, 888-986-6639. Somebody answers the phone 24 hours a day. We don't take calls on the air, but you're welcome to call if you got a question, something you'd like us to talk about, you like a second opinion on what you're currently doing with your investment situation. I want to talk about something real quick before we get into this article, Bart. We met with a guy the other day, and I wanted to highlight something in our conversation that I think is a little bit different, maybe in how we do things than how a lot of other advisors do things. And I think people think when they come in for a second opinion, we're going to be like, oh, what you're doing is wrong, you know. And this gentleman, you know, listens to the show, and he brought in, you know, what he was currently doing. And what I explained to him was, it wasn't that what he was doing was quote unquote wrong. Okay. Mm-hmm. His advisor had designed a balanced portfolio for him. It was a little aggressive, but I mean, it was a portfolio. There was nothing there that you could be like, oh, you know. But what I was trying to highlight to him was the financial industry as a whole concentrates on money management. And while, yes, that is an important component of handling your financial future, what we do is concentrate on what is that going to mean for you in retirement, and how do we craft a strategy about retiring. And that's what's not done enough in our industry. Mm-hmm. You can have the greatest portfolio in the world, but if you don't know how you're going to access that money and how much money that's going to produce for you in retirement, then you really don't have a plan. You just have investments.
Sure.
And why are you paying somebody to just give you investments? Right. They need to be helping you with Social Security. They need to be helping you with life insurance. They need to make sure that your estate planning is handled properly. Not that they would do it, but that they would connect you with the right people to make sure it's done. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not doing all of that stuff, they're really just a broker. And if all you have is a broker, why not go online and get a broker for a lot cheaper than what you're probably paying the guy in the local office? If you're going to pay somebody 1% a year or whatever to handle your money, they need to be doing more than just building you a portfolio. And if they're not, you're really not getting your money's worth. And I think that's where we really differentiate ourselves from so many other people in the market. And that when you come here, the whole thing we're going to do is we're going to design from A to Z what the next 20, 30, 40 years is going to look like for you. And we're going to update that on an annual basis to make sure you're on track for your goals.
Right. So if you have this, you know, money that you've collected and invested over a period of time, and you can't answer the question, what is this going to look like for me in retirement? What kind of retirement is this money going to be able to buy me?
How am I taking my income out?
Right.
Where's it coming from?
Where's it coming from? How much is it going to be? What am I going to be able to afford? Now, you're not going to get that down to the penny, but you should have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be. What's inflation going to do to it? You know, is that part of the plan? What's it going to look like? That's what you need.
And I think that flows right into this retirement rules that don't necessarily apply anymore, because one of the first things we talk about, what's that?
More rules.
Yeah. But one of the first things that's talked about in this article, which is brought to us by cheatsheet.com, interesting website. I just Google looking for stuff. I can't tell you where they come from sometimes. But a good point here is they talk about the 4% rule. For most of my adult life, I've always heard the 4% rule. If you retire at 65, you withdraw 4%. You should never run out of money. But the reality is that's such a generalization, it's impossible to say whether that's true, especially given a couple factors that people don't take into account. One, interest rates are lower than they've ever been. So to do illustrations and projections based on today's interest rates would indicate that may not work out for you on a withdrawal percentage. And you can't just take that money out of a bucket of money and think that everything's going to be okay, because that bucket has to be invested properly to sustain that kind of withdrawal.
Sure.
If it's in a cash account earning nothing, you're just drawing principal. And if it's somewhere losing a bunch of money because it's aggressively invested, you're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, and I can remember a time when you were where you could buy investments that would give you a fixed rate of return of 6% with no risk. So obviously, if that was the case, your 4% rule was more like a 6% rule. Those days are gone. So here's another one. My partner will take care of me, and your partner may not have the ability to take care of you.
Right.
Your partner may have to take care of themselves. Your partner may have divorced you. Your partner may have passed away.
Yeah, know the divorce rate for adults over 50 has doubled in the last 25 years?
Yeah, they call it, in this article, they call it gray divorces becoming more common. The divorce rate among adults over the age of 50 has doubled over the past 25 years. And what did they call this thing? Cheat sheet?
Yeah.
And then they're talking about divorce over 50. So I don't know if there's a correlation there. Let's hope
there's another concept that you'll start early and rely on compound interest. Of course, we talk about compound interest and saving early, but you also have to remember that cost of living, of where you're going to live, the fees you're going to pay, taxes, inflation, where you're going to invest, all those things are important, which again goes back to why you need to just start as early as possible and save as much as possible. They talk about living on your pension forever. So many people say, I'm fine, I have a pension. But we see more and more of these pensions going belly up and falling back on the pension guarantee corporation. We see reports like we just talked about in the last segment about underfunded pensions by tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. If you're in your 50s and you're thinking your pension is going to be your main source of income, boy, I would definitely have a plan B. Not saying that it's going to go away, but it definitely could get reduced significantly, and that could have a real impact on your overall strategy when it comes to retirement.
Now, we don't think that Social Security is going to disappear, but we don't think it's going to be as vibrant as it is right now. The trust fund for Social Security benefits is estimated to be drained by 2034, according to this article, and actually also according to the Social Security Administration, if you read the fine print of your statements. And they will only have the ability to pay 79% of the promised benefits. So it is likely that with increasing cost in Medicare and the fact that you may get a decrease in the amount of Social Security, I kind of like to look at your estimated Social Security benefit and figure way into the future that could be as much as half of what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider we're looking at Social Security for many clients as icing on the cake, not any part of the cake at all.
Right.
If you're counting on it being the whole cake, you're probably going to it's not going to turn out well. You're going to be hungry.
No.
So start now, planning for other options. I'm not saying Social Security is going bankrupt. I don't think the country and the government will have any kind of political will to end that type of program. But at the same time, they also don't seem to have the political willpower to fix it either. So we end up in this quandary where we're just kind of floating in the middle. I remember when they first started talking about shortfalls in Social Security was when I was in college, and it was like, oh, that's like 50 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're now less than 20.
Right.
It's getting closer, folks. And the reality is money doesn't grow on trees. We know that. It doesn't just it doesn't just appear out of thin air. If we don't address this now, there are going to be serious cuts to this program, and it could be very negative to your overall retirement plan if you have a significant amount of your idea of where your income is coming from to be coming from Social Security.
There's a common thread in a lot of these things, and that's that these retirement programs that are set up and run by companies and governments for your benefit, that they may not be as solid as you think they're going to be, and you should have your own.
Yep.
You have your own plan with your own money and your own decisions and your own advisor helping you with it, and not rely on these plans as much as you think you can.
Absolutely. A few of these kind of tie together, so I'm going to kind of say them all at the same time. Retirement never means working again. I'm just going to work until I die, or I'm going to spend retirement traveling and playing golf. We hear all three of these a lot, and all three of these have a common theme. And the common theme in that is you seem to think that you'll control the future. It doesn't work out too well all the time.
No.
You may never want to work again, but you may have to because you may need the income. You may retire and think you're going to play golf and travel the world, and a year later be bored out of your mind and never want to play golf again and be looking for a part-time job. You may think you're just going to work till you die, and you may become disabled. And you may be disabled for 20 years before you die and have no ability to work. And if you don't have money set aside for that, that could be the most miserable 20 years of your life because you're reliant on a Social Security or disability type of system. So there's so many variables in these types of things. To say that you definitively know that this is going to happen, it limits your choices so much if something like that doesn't happen, which is just as likely to take place.
Right. Look at some of the people you know who have passed away in the last year and think about how many employers would have wanted to hire them in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And interestingly, U.S. Social Security Administration says 25% of today's 20-year-olds, 1 out of 4, will become disabled before they have a chance to retire. So your intentions may be great, but you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You know, there's a great radio broadcaster over in Detroit, Terry Foster. He does a sports show over there. He's had 2 strokes in the last 3 months. He just signed off for the last time the other day. Radio is not something that is physically demanding, but he felt the mental stress from being a loud and voracious, sportscaster and arguing about whether Justin Verlander should be traded or not. It was stressing on his brain, and in light of the strokes, he decided it was time to hang it up. Now, luckily, he's in a position he can do that. If you hurt your back and you're working as a machinist, you can't go work as a machinist anymore. Your back's hurt. You can't just force your way through that happening. One other one that I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll run into a break. My expenses will be lower in retirement. Now, this is a myth that has been proposed by the media for decades. The idea that you'll need less income in retirement than you will while you're working. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing that has been propagated for many, many years. I'll only need 60% of what I make now. I'm going to tell you right now, in the beginning of retirement, you will probably need more money because you're going to travel. You're going to do all those things you've been telling yourself for 40 years to get through work and finally retire that you're going to do. And you're going to find yourself saying, oh, I need $5,000 for this, or I need $3,000 for that. And you're going to find at the end of those first couple of years, boy, I spent a lot more than I thought I was going to. So acting like you're going to spend less could be really dangerous. If you want a spending plan or you want to find out how much you really need in retirement, then you need to get a roadmap for your retirement. We'd be happy to help you with that. Give us a call, 888-98-MONEY. All right, coming up, a novel idea. This school will not charge you tuition until after you graduate and get a job, right here on the Keeping Your Money Show.